The morning sun, usually a benevolent golden wash over Nova City, felt different today. It cast long, anxious shadows as the first tremors began. Not the familiar rumble of the subway, nor the distant thrum of construction, but a deep, guttural vibration that seemed to rise from the very bedrock of the metropolis. Commuters paused, coffee cups halfway to lips, their smiles faltering. Then, a colossal shadow, impossibly vast, fell across the financial district, plunging skyscrapers into an eerie twilight. From the shimmering expanse of the Pacific, it rose. Not a ship, not a cloud, but a living mountain of iridescent scales, its form shifting like liquid metal under the pale morning light. Its eyes, twin orbs of pulsating violet, swept across the cityscape, devoid of malice, yet radiating an ancient, indifferent power. This was the Aether-Beast, a creature of myth made terrifyingly real. Panic, a primal, infectious wave, erupted. Car alarms shrieked, screams echoed through canyons of glass and steel, and the orderly flow of city life dissolved into a chaotic torrent of humanity. In a cluttered, dust-mote-filled apartment laboratory overlooking the chaos, Dr. Aris Thorne watched the news feed, his face a mask of grim fascination. His apartment, a monument to forgotten theories and obscure cryptozoological texts, was usually his sanctuary. Now, the monstrous reality outside validated every dismissed hypothesis, every ridiculed paper he'd ever written. He was a xenobiologist, a man who had dedicated his life to the study of life beyond the known, and now, the unknown had arrived at his doorstep. A strange, almost lonely sense of vindication warred with the profound dread for the millions below. He felt a peculiar connection, a scientist's hunger to understand, even as the world crumbled. Military jets, tiny specks against the Aether-Beast's colossal frame, screamed into the sky. Missiles, bright streaks of defiance, detonated against its hide, creating spectacular but ultimately futile explosions. The creature merely recoiled, a low, resonant hum emanating from its core, a sound that vibrated through the very bones of the city, causing windows to shatter and structures to groan. It wasn't attacking with intent, but its sheer presence, its movements, were a force of nature, reducing buildings to rubble with casual sweeps of its massive limbs. Aris, fueled by a desperate urgency, fought his way through the pandemonium to the hastily established command center. General Vance, a man forged in the crucible of conventional warfare, scoffed at the disheveled scientist. "We need weapons, Doctor, not theories," he barked, his face streaked with soot and frustration. Mayor Thompson, pale and overwhelmed, looked to Aris with a flicker of desperate hope. "What can you offer, Doctor?" "Understanding," Aris stated, his voice calm despite the tremor in his hands. "This isn't an animal we can simply kill. Its physiology, its energy signature, it's unlike anything on Earth. Look at its reactions. It's not aggressive, it's disoriented. The hum it emits, the way it absorbs kinetic energy from our attacks, it's a form of bioresonance." He pointed to a rapidly generated spectral analysis on a screen. "See? There's a specific frequency, a harmonic, that seems to disrupt its internal energy regulation. It's like a tuning fork to a crystal glass. It causes discomfort, not damage." General Vance was skeptical, but with conventional weapons proving useless, he grudgingly allowed Aris a chance. "You have 6 hours, Doctor. 6 hours before we resort to extreme measures." Aris worked feverishly, collaborating with the city's top acoustical engineers and energy specialists. He theorized that the Aether-Beast, being an energy-based life form, had a resonant frequency that, if amplified and directed, could cause it to temporarily destabilize and retreat. He designed a massive sonic emitter, a complex array of transducers and amplifiers, to be deployed from the city's tallest remaining structures. It was a gamble, a shot in the dark, but it was their only hope. As the sun began its descent, casting the city in a blood-orange glow, the sonic emitters whined to life. A low, almost imperceptible hum filled the air, growing in intensity. The Aether-Beast, which had been slowly moving towards the city center, paused. Its massive head tilted, its violet eyes narrowing. The hum intensified, becoming a palpable pressure, a silent scream that tore at the fabric of reality. The creature began to writhe, its colossal form shuddering, its iridescent scales dulled, and a low, pained groan, deeper than any thunder, ripped from its core. It worked. The Aether-Beast recoiled, its movements becoming erratic and uncoordinated. It stumbled backward, away from the city, towards the ocean. A collective gasp of relief, quickly followed by a roar of triumph, erupted from the command center and across the city. Hope, a fragile, precious thing, surged through the exhausted populace. Aris, leaning against a console, felt a wave of dizzying exhaustion and profound relief wash over him. He had done it. He had understood the monster, and he had saved Nova City. But as the creature reached the shoreline, its form began to ripple, not with pain, but with an unsettling transformation. The dullness of its scales gave way to a blinding, pulsating light. Its limbs, previously ponderous, elongated, and sharpened into crystalline blades. Its head, once vaguely reptilian, flattened and streamlined, revealing a new, terrifying array of sensory organs that glowed with an ominous, internal fire. The low groan it had emitted earlier now became a high-pitched, piercing shriek that shattered every remaining window in the city and sent tremors through the ground that felt like an earthquake. The Aether-Beast had not just retreated, it had evolved. It had adapted. The sonic frequency that had caused it discomfort was no longer a weakness. Instead, it seemed to have absorbed the energy, integrated it, and now it was re-emitting it, amplified and weaponized. The very air around it crackled with raw energy, and the ground beneath its feet began to melt into glowing slag. It turned its newly evolved, terrifying gaze back towards the city, its violet eyes now burning with a focused, predatory intent. The initial disorientation was gone, replaced by a chilling, intelligent aggression. Despair, cold, and absolute, gripped Nova City once more. The brief moment of triumph had been a cruel illusion. Aris felt a crushing weight descend upon him, heavier than any skyscraper. His success had not saved them. It had merely provoked a greater, more formidable threat. He had inadvertently taught the monster how to fight back, how to become even more dangerous. General Vance's face was grim. "Doctor, what have you done?" he whispered, his voice devoid of its usual bluster. Aris could only stare, his mind racing, trying to comprehend the impossible. He had to find another way, a true solution, before Nova City was utterly annihilated. Aris, haunted by the monster's terrifying evolution, refused to surrender to despair. He locked himself in his makeshift lab within the command center, poring over every scrap of data, every image, every vibrational reading. He noticed something peculiar in the monster's new energy signature. A subtle, almost imperceptible fluctuation, like a heartbeat within a storm. It wasn't just raw power. There was a pattern, a rhythm. He remembered an obscure text, a forgotten myth from ancient cultures that spoke of sky whales that fed on stellar dust, creatures that communicated through complex energy patterns. Could the Aether-Beast be something similar? Not a destroyer, but a cosmic wanderer, lost and hungry? He theorized that the creature wasn't attacking out of malice, but out of a desperate need for a specific, rare energy source, one that its initial, less evolved form couldn't process efficiently. The city's energy grid, its power plants, were merely a crude, overwhelming approximation of what it truly sought. Its evolution, he now believed, was an adaptation to better times, consume times, or times navigate times towards this true sustenance, not to destroy. The sonic frequency had merely overloaded its system, forcing it to adapt or perish. His new plan was audacious, bordering on madness. He proposed creating a beacon, a focused energy signature that mimicked the monster's natural food source, a signal that would guide it away from the city towards a remote, uninhabited region, known for its unique geological formations and natural energy emissions. It wasn't about fighting, it was about leading, about understanding its fundamental needs. General Vance and Mayor Thompson were incredulous. "You want to times feed times it, Doctor? After it just leveled half the city?" Vance roared. "We need to hit it with everything we've got, and risk another, even more devastating evolution?" Aris countered, his voice firm. We cannot defeat it with force. We must understand it. This creature is a part of a larger ecosystem, a cosmic one. It's not evil, it's just different. We need to speak its language, not ours. With no other viable options, and the Aether-Beast now systematically dismantling the city's defenses, they reluctantly agreed. Aris worked with a skeleton crew of engineers, converting the city's largest remaining power station into a massive, directional energy emitter. It was a race against time, as the Aether-Beast's destructive path drew ever closer to their position. As the final preparations were made, Aris stood on the rooftop of the power station, a small, vulnerable figure against the backdrop of the monstrous creature. The Aether-Beast was now a mere kilometer away, its violet eyes scanning, its crystalline limbs tearing through the last line of defense. Aris took a deep breath, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through him. He activated the beacon, a beam of pure, focused energy, invisible to the naked eye but palpable in its intensity, shot out from the power station, aimed towards the remote desert region. The Aether-Beast paused. Its head, with its new sensory organs, swiveled towards the beacon. The destructive energy crackling around it subsided. Its violet eyes, once filled with cold intent, now seemed to soften, to focus with an almost childlike curiosity. It emitted a low, resonant hum, different from its earlier groans of pain or shrieks of aggression. This hum was inquisitive, almost peaceful. Slowly, deliberately, the Aether-Beast began to turn. Its massive body, which had brought so much destruction, now moved with a strange grace, following the invisible thread of the beacon. It lumbered past the ruined skyscrapers, past the gaping holes in the earth, not causing further harm, but merely moving towards the promise of sustenance. Aris watched, his heart pounding, as the creature, a living mountain, slowly receded into the distance, its iridescent scales catching the last rays of the setting sun, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold. The city was saved, not by force, but by understanding. The Aether-Beast, guided by Aris's beacon, eventually disappeared over the horizon, heading towards its natural energy source, a cosmic wanderer finding its way home. Nova City was a ruin, but it was a living ruin, with the promise of rebuilding. Aris, hailed as a reluctant hero, felt a profound sense of peace. He had faced the ultimate unknown, not with fear, but with empathy and intellect. He had learned that even the most terrifying monsters might simply be misunderstood, and that true strength lay not in destruction, but in connection. The world was vast, full of wonders and mysteries, and Aris Thorne, the xenobiologist, knew his journey of understanding had only just begun. The scars on Nova City would heal, but the lesson learned, the bridge built between worlds, would forever redefine humanity's place in the universe.